Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Inna alhamdulillah wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Uh, Due to the fact that I have some new Muslims here at the website, and also old Muslims too who are new to practicing, what I'm going to do for the next 2 weeks is speak about Khushuu in the prayer. Khushuu in the prayer, because again, we talked about what beneficial knowledge is. Beneficial knowledge is not just knowledge of Allah, but it's also knowledge of his laws, of his rules, of his guidelines, and his obligations. And the number one obligation that we have as Muslims is to remember Allah and worship him 5 times every day. And in order for your prayers to be accepted, you must worship him the way he legislated, and also you must have khushua in the prayer. And a lot of Muslims ask famous speakers what khushua in the prayer is. I just played for you guys, my students here at the website. I played for them an excerpt of a 1 minute video lecture of a famous speaker. I didn't name the person's name, but many of them recognized him from his voice because he's very famous. Whereas he was asked the question, what is khushua in the prayer? First of all, he says that in order to understand khushua, in order to have khushua in the prayer, you have to learn Arabic. That's what he said. And that's ignorant. That's wrong. And then he gave his answer. His answer was so confusing. He never said what khushua in the prayer is or what khushua means. He gave all these other words and examples and Arabic terms and all this, and no one understood what he was talking about. So what I am going to do is for the next 2 weeks, break down what khushua means, how to develop it, the benefits of it, and what happens if you don't have it. Today will serve as an introduction, okay? And again, first of all, Allah commands us in the Quran. He says, stand before Allah with obedience. Again, prayer. Prayer is one of the pillars of faith, and it is the greatest of the pillars. Khushua in prayer is required in order for your prayers to even be accepted. What does the term khushua refer to? It refers to having concentration. It refers to having focus. Focus, concentration on what you're saying, on what you're doing, on Allah. Okay? So again, guys, khushua is something that we are required to have as a Muslim if you want your prayer to be accepted. And also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that one of the signs of the last hour is that khushua will disappear from the earth. In other words, focus and concentration on Allah will disappear from the people. In other words, the people will make their prayers and they'll just go through the motions. They'll be done in 5 seconds, going up and down, going through the motions, not understanding what they're saying, not focusing on Allah or anything. Listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. The first thing of your religion that you will lose is khushua. And the last thing that you will lose of your religion is the prayer. There may be a person praying who has no good in him at all. And soon you will enter the mosque and not find anyone who has Khushoo, not find anyone who's concentrated. And we see that happening today. How many times you go to the mosque and instead of the people being in tuned in their prayer, they're sitting there talking and playing with their cell phones. Or you're making salat. I saw this recently. A man was standing up praying. His cell phone rang. He stopped the prayer and looked at his phone and started texting. He was texting while he was standing up praying. Subhanallah. When I went to make Hajj, people were walking around the Kaaba texting on their cell phones. So again, this is what the Prophet meant. Khushuu refers to concentration. It refers to having focus. It refers to having humility before Allah. I don't know why that brother didn't give that answer when he was asked that question. And you don't have to learn the Arabic language to understand those words. Okay? So we can see this hadith happening already. Our concentration is going out the window. You go to the mosque, you see people on them cell phones texting while they pray. Also, listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Successful indeed are the believers. And who are the believers? They are those who offer their prayers with sincerity and submissiveness. So again, you find another meaning of Khushuu. Khushuu means to stand before Allah, focused, and to worship Him with sincerity and full submissiveness. Your attention is on Allah, not on your cell phone, not on what's going on behind you. So thus, guys, if you were to ask Laila Nasheeba to define the term Khushuu, I would tell you Khushuu means to have calmness, serenity, tranquility, dignity, and humility while praying. It's what makes you have fear of Allah. To have Khushuu means to imagine that you are standing before Allah and this is your last prayer. A person with true Khushuu. This is a person who has a heart that stands before Allah in humility and submission. That's all that brother had to say. I don't know what he was talking about in that lecture that I played for y'all, but he wasn't talking about Khushuu. He probably didn't know the answer. He should have just said, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Ask Sister Laila. That's what he should have said. Go ask Sister Laila at Sunnahfollowers. Okay? So for those of you who are new Muslims, I want you, Sister Pamela, Sister Iman, and all the other new Muslims here to focus on the fact that when you go to make your salat, you have to tune everything else out. Tune everything else out and imagine that you are standing before your Creator. Brother Haji and all the other older Muslims here at the website, tune what's going on around you out and focus on Allah. Focus on what you're saying. That's why you need to ponder the meaning of the Quran. When you recite the Fatiha, don't just say the Arabic words. Focus on the meaning of what you're saying. Focus on the interpretation of the meaning of what you're saying. That'll help keep you focused. And again, Allah commands us in the interpretation of meaning, stand before Allah with obedience. Mujahid. Who was Mujahid? Mujahid was another one of the companions, guys, who was a scholar of the Quran. He said part of obedience is to bow and to humble yourself out of fear of Allah. Okay, that's what to stand before Allah with obedience means. It means to humble yourself out of fear of him, out of awe of him. Okay? So that's how you want to be when you make your salat, guys. And it's hard to do. I mean, even I have a hard time with it sometimes, especially if I'm praying when other people are around. It's hard to tune everybody else out and just focus on yourself and Allah. Okay? And again, in understanding Khushuu, you must know to be sincere and not show off. We talked about this. If you want Allah to accept any of your deeds, be it prayer, fasting, giving in charity, building a home for someone, giving someone a gift, if you want Allah to accept any of your good deeds, you have to do it to please Him, not to show off for man. Listen to what Hudayfa, who was another one of the companions, said. He said, beware of the Khushuu of hypocrisy. And somebody asked him, what is Khushuu of hypocrisy? He said, Khushuu of hypocrisy is when the body shows concentration, but the heart doesn't have it. In other words, you appear to be so into your prayer, but in reality, that person is showing off. A person can make his prayers look so beautiful and make you think that he's such a pious person, but in reality, he's doing it just to be seen. And this is another one of the signs of the last hour. The prophet said, beware of the man who will stand before you and beautify their prayers. They'll recite the Quran beautifully, but it'll never go past their throats because they have no understanding and no knowledge of what they're saying. And they're beautifying their prayers just to impress you, to be seen as being superior over you. So we have to be careful. That's Khushuu of hypocrisy. We have a hadith where another one of the companions, Fudail ibn Iyad, he said it was disliked for a man to show more Khushuu than he had in his heart. One man saw another man showing Khushuu in his shoulders and body. So he said, oh, so-and-so, Khushuu is not there. It's here in your heart, not there on your shoulders. In other words, this was a brother who was praying, and he was taking his time to make sure his shoulders were just right, his hands were raised just properly, and a person could see he was showing off. So Fidel let him know, hey, Aki, Khushuu is in the heart, not in all that motion that you doing. And again, as Ibn al-Qayyim explained, the Khushuu of true faith is when the heart is aware and humble before Allah. It's when the heart is filled with awe and fear of Allah. That's true Khushuu. But Khushuu of hypocrisy is something that is put on with a great show, and there is nothing in the heart. So again, guys, make sure that when you're praying, you're beautifying your prayer to impress Allah, not to impress no man. Okay? And our prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the best example for us. The prophet used to tell his companions, he used to say, my joy is in the prayer. He loved to worship Allah. He would take his time and focus only on Allah. He knew that every time he recited the Fatiha, he was reciting a personal conversation, engaged in a personal conversation with Allah. He made sure that when he bowed and prostrated, he did it out of sincerity to show how in awe he was of Allah, not to impress anyone else. So again, you want to be like the prophet, guys. Imagine that you're standing in front of Allah praying to him. And for those of us who can do this, we will find many benefits. One of the benefits is not only will you love to pray like the prophet did, but also it'll be easier for you to do it. So many Muslims will tell you how hard it is for them to set aside their prayers every day. But when you have true khushua, true concentration, you know that you're talking to Allah. This is your moment of awareness to show Allah your gratitude towards Him. It becomes easy for you to set aside what you're doing and go and remember Him. Remember, Allah tells us in the interpretation, the meaning, seek help in patience and the prayer. And truly, it is extremely heavy and hard to do this, except for those who are true believers, who obey Allah with full submission and who fear His punishment. So Allah is telling us, when you read the Arabic here, He's telling us it is hard except for those who are el kashiun. Those are the ones who have khushua. Prayer is only hard for is only hard for those who do not have khushua. For those of us who have this relationship with Allah, we find it easy to stop our job, to take a 5-minute break from work and go pray. We find it easy to center our shopping around the prayer, not the prayer around our shopping. So thus, guys, in this lecture for today, which serves as an introduction to this topic, you can see that khushua is very important. But not only is it something that's very important for us to establish, but it's something that is easily lost too. In fact, it's rarely even seen. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said the first thing to be taken away from this nation will be khushua. You will notice people praying and none of them will have khushua. None of them will have concentration or focus on Allah. Now, for the next several days, we will discuss how we can develop khushua, and we're going to speak about the benefits of it, and we're going to speak about the consequences of not having it. So we'll stop right here for today. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.